Now I did have a chance to actually review this phone back when it came out 2 months ago, but I chose not to simply because I felt it was too similar to the Pro 4G. Like for example, this is the Pro 5G, and this is the Pro 4G. No, it's not. It's still the same phone, but that's exactly my point. Like, yes, I know it has a different camera setup, but it's still the same 64 megapixel main camera, and the other two cameras don't really matter. So kinda the same. And yes, I also know it's a different chipset, the Dimensity 810, but when you compare it to the G96 of the regular Camon 19 Pro, it's not that much powerful. Like, you'll still play games at about the same settings. So kind of the same. But I would say though that one thing that the Dimensity 810 brings to the table is 5G. Now at the time, 2 months ago, we weren't really sure when we were going to get 5G. So 5G was great and all, but I felt it wasn't a feature that you would get when you actually buy this phone. So basically, you would be on 4G all of the time. Say it with me? Kind of the same. But you've probably heard by now that MTN has launched 5G. And this phone is the only phone in the Camon 19 lineup to actually get the Android 13 update. So that changes the narrative. Not kind of the same. So let's talk about it. 5G. Now we are in the early stages, so 5G is really limited. There are a few areas that have 5G and most of us don't live in those areas. And to be honest, some of you watching this video stay in countries where 5G is far from being ready. But what if you stay in an area that has 5G? What then? Well, there are still some hiccups. Now I haven't tested this out personally, but I know YouTubers who have, and they've all come to the same conclusion. On this particular phone, it says 5G, but at best, it's really good 4G. Like I'm talking 70 megabits per second, not even 100. Some other phones like Xiaomi and I think Nokia do give you actual 5G speeds, but this just doesn't. Now the good news, or should I say bad news, is there are still a lot of optimizations to be done. For example, 5G iPhones and some 5G Samsung phones don't get MTN 5G at all. So I feel like in the future, there are updates that could possibly fix this and make this phone actually give you 5G speeds. But for now, it just doesn't. So let's talk about Android 13. Turns out I might be wrong. I did say earlier that all of the phones in the Camon 19 lineup would be getting the Android 13 update. But so far, just this one has. And I don't know why. Like, it doesn't really make sense to me why this would get and the others wouldn't. But so far that is the case. So I guess this is another reason to get the Pro 5G over the Pro 4G. Now thankfully there are visual changes to the UI. It looks more like stock Android and I'm a big fan of that. I love the new notification center as well as the control center. It's been changed. One swipe lets you see your notifications and a second swipe takes you to your control center. The brightness toggle is just above, nice and large. We still get all the familiar features of iOS but just redesigned. Comparing it to Android 12, you see it's now arranged horizontally rather than vertically. But one feature that's missing is theft alert. I thought it was a pretty cool feature, but it got scrapped. Media controls as well have been redesigned. When you're listening to music on, say, Spotify, you can find it when you swipe down on the home screen. We have the album art as the background, a swirly line to show the progress of the song, and you can easily choose where you want the music to be played from, like perhaps your wireless earbuds. And you can also adjust the volume, and it's all in one place. Copying and pasting as well has received an upgrade. When you copy a text, it brings up this window at the bottom left of the screen, which if you click on it, lets you edit the copy text, or you could hit the share button and then choose which app you want to share it to. Also, when you open an app for the very first time, it does bring up all the permissions all at once, so you get to accept or, I guess, not accept. And it also got redesigned. I would say overall this felt like a new OS. Now I did complain in my previous videos that the jump from Android 11 to 12 wasn't that obvious, it wasn't that visible, that the UI was basically the same. But this though, visually at least, is a step in the right direction. But we can't really talk about Android 13 without talking about Material You. Like, first off, we did not get any new wallpapers. It's the same ones, but I guess that's not much of a big deal because you can always download from the store. But what is a big deal, like I said, is Material You. So basically, when you try to change your wallpaper, it does give you colors to choose from, gotten from your wallpaper. and that will be used all across the phone's UI. So app icons, color of text, the notification and control center, all of that. It just takes customization to a whole next level. It's so cool. Now, obviously, no one is buying a phone specifically because of Material U, but it is a cool feature to have. So those are the two new updates. Everything else is basically the same. Performance-wise, well, you get respectable performance on here. Apps open quickly, it's a pretty quick phone, and gaming as well is decent. The display is okay, it's a 120Hz 1080p LCD display. And if you watch my Pro 4G review, yes, I don't know why they didn't give this an AMOLED display, but it is what it is. Cameras are decent. They, for some reason, left out the 50 megapixel telephoto camera that was on the Pro 4G, and that was my favorite feature of the phone. So yes, the main 64 megapixel camera is okay, but this doesn't have the more versatile camera setup. And lastly, battery life is about what you would expect from a 5000 mAh cell. Overall thoughts, it's a decent phone. I think if you buy it, you really wouldn't complain about anything. But even in the Camon 19 lineup, me personally would go with the Camon 19 Pro 4G because of that telephoto camera. Like 5G is cool and all, but I feel we're still a couple years away from 5G being widespread to the point where it's a serious factor to consider when buying a phone. And I also believe that you should be buying a phone for what it can do right now than what it can do for you in the future. But again, those are just my thoughts on the Camon 19 Pro 5G. Let me know yours in the comments, and I hope to see you when you see me.